we live in a unique time with the pandemic. Our numbers, they're clearly up. We have hundreds of new cases in the Tri-County region just in the last 3 days. The 48 hours between Saturday and Monday, we saw quite a number going up. It can be hard on so many people. We know that. What about seniors out there? What are they facing? And more importantly, and more to the point, what are they turning to here during the pandemic as it extends? I want to get into that today with the good doctor, Dr. John Braccio, here with Regional Psychological Services of East Lansing, drjohnb.com. That's where the podcast and videos are. And he's with us again and back in Michigan, I might add. Good morning.
Well, good morning to you, Dave. And certainly our topic today is a difficult one. We're talking about the really growing epidemic of senior substance and alcohol abuse at this time. And not just because of COVID, but this is going on a steady increase, almost doubling in the year 2020, speculation of 5.7 million persons senior citizens abusing alcohol and substance abuses. So it's a difficult time, and it's a time, if we look at many seniors, we don't want to say all, but certainly, unfortunately, an unfortunate percentage here. But we're looking at issues of retirement with lack of purpose. We're looking at financial problems. We're looking at loss of a spouse or a loved one. We're looking at health problems, chronic pain, insomnia, low self-esteem, history of substance abuse, not acknowledging the magnitude of the problem, loneliness, a loss of spirituality, and then obviously the being enclosed during this whole period of the pandemic. So it can be a very difficult time for seniors. And go ahead.
Do you think it? Do you think the pandemic then is just exacerbating this issue?
I think
it's something that you've seen it?
Yes.
Okay.
I think
you've witnessed this going on.
Yes.
I mean, these numbers have doubled, according to experts, in the last 15 years. So you've been witness to this before we got into the whole thing with COVID-19 then, right?
Yes, this is an ongoing kind of a thing, and I think people are more aware of it. I think a lot of people have just said, oh, let uncles or dad or whatever drink too much or have this, just kind of what they're doing. Or a lot of times aren't even aware, because a lot of the symptoms of aging are similar also to substance abuse in terms of slurring of speech and falling and, not having good balance. Some could have bruises, whatever it might be. So a lot of the symptoms of substance abuse are similar to the loss of memory, the type of things that occur with aging persons. So it's difficult for a lot of persons to really know, particularly if a person's living alone and they're good at hiding it or don't even see it as a problem.
Right.
So
sure.
So it is definitely a societal problem at this particular time, no doubt.
And so what are some of the things that you would, as you went down retirement without purpose, and that, can lead to so many, you say, I can't wait to quit working. Then what are you going to do? Well, nothing. Well, usually there's something that occupies that time, but it's not always positive, correct? You got to try to make it positive. But
well, I've always used Ted Williams, the great baseball player, as an example. He retired from baseball and became a world-class fisherman. You know what I mean? So I think you can retire, but you retire from something, and maybe you go into your avocations or things you've always wanted to do, but just sitting in the house is really not a good thing. We all know stories of people that after they retire, they still go to lunch with their old friends. They get from the work site. They'll get together and eat somewhere for lunch while they're working. So I think that what people have to do, they have to find purpose in life. They have to be, they need to be reaching out to family, friends. They need to be involved in things. And people need to keep an eye on them, too. Like if you're family, if you're friends, if you're a church group or whatever the group might be, try to reach out to our senior citizens that can really feel isolated, particularly during COVID, when they're in their homes, and also with chronic pain. And so I think a lot of this, too, relates to good medical treatment, good psychological treatment, and this is what is really needed. And with a lot of persons, it's really not occurring. And when this occurs, there are times that family and friends really do need to really even intervene and, meet with the person. I've been involved in various of these meetings when a person is confronted, and I've been brought in to meet with the family in my office with the person involved. So this is something that really can be done. Of course, if a person refuses,
how do those go with an older person who could say,
I think it depends on the person, Dave.
All right.
I've even met with a few where the person says, "This is my choice." A person could be 80 years old and they drink too much, and their point is, "Hey, I'm not bothering anybody else. This is a choice I'm making." Okay, that can be difficult for people that say they really shouldn't be doing that. But those are some things that happen. But there are times that people do acknowledge, I really do have an issue. I'm glad that you've come to help me, and I will, even going into inpatient, substance abuse treatment or outpatient counseling with a therapist, with a group, with a support group. So there really are opportunities. But yes, sometimes the family meeting can be pretty helpful. The ones I've been involved with, the person has agreed to be involved. So there are of course some people that just say, "No, it's not a problem. I'm not willing to meet with it." You can't really deal with that, that type of a situation if the person is still kind of surviving and moving forward. So it's a touchy type thing, because as people get older, they can look for different areas for support, and some do that and do abuse it. So it is a societal issue, and you don't want people that are lonely, feeling kind of out of it, just using alcohol or using substances to kind of make their life more meaningful. We really want to try to have people find more purpose. But like Dr. Hess even mentioned when you were talking to her earlier today, even with young kids, you're looking at suicide-type situations, you're looking at obesity, you're looking at situations, even with young kids, let alone that we're dealing with older people that are feeling isolated during this time.
Right.
Or even if it weren't just this time, this is really not a situation just because of the pandemic. This is something that has been an increasing problem, I think, as we get an increasing aging population.
And Doc, that's why I wanted to say with you, and I mentioned that in the segment with her, she comes at it from being a pediatrician, and a very well-known one, is that it exacerbates it. It's taking a problem and ramping it up because we have all these other stressors and, sometimes a lack of contact with other people, call it what you will. It's not, being caused by the pandemic, but the pandemic is not making it any better. In fact, maybe way worse. So we should just, good awareness of it is at least the starting point, I would think.
Well, I think that's completely true, and I think that's something that we really do need to do more and more of. And I do feel that, I'm regularly working with people that are having some of these situations. And I might add, one group we haven't talked about are the people in chronic pain. Those are people that really have a difficult situation, and they're people that do take medication and aren't able to take it right now. Okay, that because of changes that were done. So a lot of people are really feeling they're in a lot more pain, and there's a danger of them buying things on the streets. Okay, sometimes people get what's called a spinal cord stimulator, which is something to try to, in effect, confuse the pain, kind of eliminate it. So it's there are a lot of things as people age that they run into, and again, a lot of times illegal substances or even prescription drug abuse, alcohol abuse. These are things people fall to. So often people do need a family support. They need a spiritual support. They need a therapy support. So there's a lot of difficulties in just the aging process, but then add on all the other additional things that can occur through the death of a spouse, the death of family, loss of job, fearful not having enough income. So there's a lot of a lot of problems. In the old days, if you will, people lived with their families. Even my mother-in-law, who's my wife's Cuban, who was kind of taking the family. She was with us into her 90s. That kind of a standard, and from the old Italian, people would stay with their families. Well, those days, we're in a different world right now. People live alone as long as they can. And so that I think is maybe good for a lot of people, but it obviously can be really difficult, particularly when we start looking at the numbers on the substance abuse.
Yeah, sometimes it's
alcohol abuse,
and just a general case of out of sight, out of mind, and it wasn't possible a generation before. I think we still see some of that in a good way in some of our immigrant subgroups here from different Asian countries, Latin America, but it is not. It's not with other families where, like yours and even mine, where it used to be prevalent. It is not prevalent anymore, and it's something you've really got to keep an eye on. The growing epidemic here. Growing is the key word. It's been here. It's larger now. Senior substance alcohol abuse. It has doubled over the last 15 years in the pandemic, not making it any better. Our good friend Dr. John Braccio back from the Southland here and visiting with us today. We want you to stay safe. Remember the podcast at drjohnb.com, Regional Psychological Services of East Lansing. Be well, okay? I mean that.
Same to you, Dave. Have a good day, my friend.
All right, absolutely. We're back here shortly on the Morning Wake Up. Please stick around. 1320 WILS.